Right, welcome to this lecture. This one's on PTE reading, and we're going to look at fill in the blanks, but we're going to learn some skills that will apply to, well, pretty much all of your language learning, actually. So let's have a look. First of all, task overview. This is what PTE reading fill in the blanks looks like. It's pretty straightforward. You just have to drag one of these into the correct blank. That's all you have to do. Well, yes, that's all you have to do, but how do you do it is actually very complicated, and there's a lot to it. So you get 1 point for every correctly placed word. What does it test? What does this particular task require you to be able to do? A few things. First of all, reading fill in the blanks tests your knowledge of natural sounding English. Natural sounding English, like sounding like a native speaker, not in terms of your pronunciation, but your word choice. How does it do that? Well, it tests your knowledge of collocations. So let's have a look at what collocations are, because there are, well, you know, when you start to get good at language, you might start by just learning basic vocabulary and grammar and blah, blah, blah. But when you start to get really good at English and you start to push up towards 65, especially 79 in the PTE, you really need to understand and be able to use collocations, because this is where your language level goes to the next level. Okay, so what are they? Well, collocations are words that often appear together into natural sounding phrases. For example, I'm completely aware of the implications while she has absolutely no idea. So completely aware and absolutely no idea are natural sounding phrases. One thing you'll notice with language is that native English speakers like me, we are not creative with our language use. We just use collocations. We do not put random words together. We use these phrases, these chunks of language, and that's how we sound native-like with our vocabulary choice. So you should not be creative either. You should use collocations when you speak and when you write. Let's look at some different types of collocations. So here are the main ones. So adjective plus noun. For example, adverse effect, not unfavorable effect. I'm going to look at these in detail in a second. So I'm just introducing them here. Verb plus noun. You acquire knowledge. You don't learn knowledge. Adverb plus adjective. You're actively involved in something. You're not effectively involved in something. Verb and adverb differ considerably. So you and your sister differ considerably. You don't differ greatly. These are the collocations. These are the natural sounding phrases. These are the unnatural sounding phrases. Or a noun and a noun, like career development. You should focus on your career development, not job development. Let's have a closer look at each of those. So adjective and noun. So here's a sentence. It says, eating 3,000 milligrams of salt has no adverse effects on blood pressure. So there's your collocation. It's an adjective plus a noun. Adverse effects, not unfavorable effects. There has been a dramatic increase in the number of earthquakes, not big increase. We say dramatic increase. Why? I don't know. Does it even make sense? Not really, but it's beside the point. This is a collocation. Verb plus noun. Children draw conclusions about social roles from products they see, not make conclusions. And draw here doesn't mean they're drawing pictures. It means they're thinking of conclusions. They're drawing a conclusion. So in the essay, you need to draw a conclusion, not literally drawing a picture. This is just a natural sounding phrase in English. Astronauts can employ techniques, verb, noun, to avoid radiation exposure, not use techniques. We employ techniques. These two words just appear together. They are collocations. Adverb, adjective. Scientists have developed an entirely new type of nanomaterial. Not absolutely new, entirely new. This is the collocation. Crocodiles have an extremely powerful bite, not significantly powerful. Verb, adverb, or you can flip it and do adverb, verb, it's the same thing. Infants grow rapidly in the first 2 years of life. Not infants grow fast. No, they grow rapidly. The number of days without rain could increase dramatically, verb, adverb, in 2020, not rise dramatically. Noun, noun. Common probiotics can reduce stress levels. Noun, stress, levels is also a noun. Stress levels, not stress positions. This is the collocation, stress levels. What happens to your thinking? What happens to our thinking processes as we age? Not thinking procedures. Cool. So there's some examples. Now, there are literally thousands of collocations in English, tens of thousands. So, well, what do? You should start to learn them. If you log into e2language.com, click on PTE, click on vocabulary, and there's a word list, a collocation word list that you can download. This is the Pearson PTE collocation word list. It is the words that the computer recognizes as collocations in your test. There are 2,496, something like that. It is not an exhaustive list. There are more, but you need somewhere to start, so start with that. I'll talk at the end more about how to learn collocations. But what if you don't know many collocations? Because reading fill in the blanks is a test of your understanding or knowledge of collocations. That's what it's testing for. When you drag that word into the gap, it creates a collocation. What if you don't know many collocations? Well, there's another method that you can do. So there are two keys to reading fill in the blanks. First one's collocation, and that's the main one. But the other one is word choice. Word choice. So let's think about word choice for a second. Because if you know what type of word is missing, if you look into that fill in the blanks and you see there's a gap, and you know that that gap needs a noun, for example, you can increase your chances of selecting the right word. Let me give you an example. Just type into the chat whether this word, this missing word, is an adjective, verb, sorry, just an adjective or a verb. Oh, some people saying adjective, some people saying verb, some people have no idea. All right, good. Most people are getting it right. Sweetie Dirac has no idea. Good, that's fine. At least you're honest. Same with, yes. Right. So we see a gap, right? And we've got two possible word types that can go into this gap. We can put an adjective in here, or we can put a verb in here. So if you know what type, there's only one type of word that can fit here. If you don't know, you have a 1 in 4 chance, because there are 4 different words here. If you do know what type of word goes in there, you have a 1 in 2 chance. Your chances increase from 25% to 50% if you know how to identify word types. The answer, by the way, is adjective. To create adjective solar fuels, like cheap solar fuels, for example. Let's keep looking at these word types. So in reading fill in the blanks, you will need to choose one of these 5 types of words. A noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb, or a preposition. Now, what they often do in reading fill in the blanks, they won't have all 5 words. They'll just have 2. They'll just have nouns and adjectives. Or they'll have verbs and prepositions, for example. Here's a task. I want you to identify the missing word types, not the word itself. What type of word is missing here? I've deleted all of the nouns. Maybe it's all of the verbs. Maybe I've deleted all of the adjectives, adverbs, prepositions. Which word type is missing? Type it into the chat. Good, looking good. No. They're all one type of verb. All one type of word, and I just gave it away. These are all one type, okay? So all of these ones are verbs. I deleted all of the verbs, okay? So you should be able to look at this and go, okay, all of the verbs are missing. There they are, all of the verbs. So all of these ones were verbs. And if we look closely, here they are: is comprised, are extracted, can be reunited, combined, break down, shines, did, would not cover. So just remember that a sentence is always subject, verb, object. Not always. Most of the time is subject, verb, object. So it's that verb that comes between the subject and the object. Also remember that verbs show do. They are doing words, right? Or sometimes is words. And also verbs can have 1, 2, 3, or even 4 parts, as we just saw. So they're complicated. Let's do another one. What type of word is missing here? There are only 2 gaps. What type of word? Good, Lynn. Well done. Good, Rajiv. And Mohammed. All right, a few people are getting it now. A lot of people are guessing. Cool. All right. These 2 words that I've deleted from here are adverbs. 2 adverbs were missing. So it was an adverb possibility there. The adverbs were highly flammable, and molecules do not simply break down. Fine. So what do adverbs do? Adverbs add information to verbs. You need to study effectively. So here's the verb study, and here's the adverb adding information to that verb. So you could just say you need to study, or you can add information to the verb and say you need to study effectively, or you need to study intelligently, for example. Or adverbs add information to adjectives. So here's the adjective, impossible. You can say the PTE is virtually impossible. Here's the adverb adding information to that adjective there. Okay. You'll need to practice identifying word types. What I'm doing today is just briefly showing you. If you need additional help, if you're unsure about how to identify word types, you need to check out our core skills lecture on YouTube. I'll show you at the end how to find that. Identify the missing word. What word is missing now? Good, Hasha. Good, Sujaya. Good, Mosa. Yep, good. Okay, that's better. Most people are confident with finding this type of word. Excellent. Good. Correct. So prepositions are missing here. Comprised preposition. Reunited something. It doesn't make much sense unless you know, but comprised of, to create, break down, shines on, most of. They are prepositions that are missing. So prepositions join phrases together. right? So when dust particles approach Earth, they enter the atmosphere at very high speeds. So we can't just say when dust particles Earth. Doesn't make sense. When they approach, because prepositions show movement. Dust particles approach. They're showing the movement there. And they enter the atmosphere at very high speed. So two things, they show movement or location of nouns. So dust particles approaching, and then there's the other preposition there. Cool. What type of word is missing now? Be careful before you just type in something there. Good, that's better, Mohammed and Satish and Sujaya. Yes, good, Chrysanta, that's right. That's right. A lot of people wrote nouns, but if we look carefully, molecule is a noun, atom is a noun, atoms is a noun, gas is a noun, source is a noun. So the nouns are there. All the nouns are there. What's missing are all the adjectives. Adjective, 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 da, 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 da. Lots and lots of adjectives there. For example, every water molecule. So water here is a noun, but it's acting as an adjective. So flammable, hydrocarbon, plentiful, renewable, most. A little bit of a technical thing here is that, for example, oxygen is a noun, but in this context, it's acting as an adjective for the word atom. Atom is the noun, it's an oxygen atom. So it's describing that noun atom. Same with molecule is the noun here, water molecule. So water becomes the adjective describing the noun molecule. Okay, flammable is just a straight adjective. Okay, and so is plentiful and renewable, etc. So adjectives describe nouns. Fine, that's the basic rule. Adjectives can come before or after the noun. And adjectives can be multiple. Like you can have a big, expensive, opulent house, for example. House is the adjective. Big, expensive, and opulent are the adjectives. There can be more than one. Can be multiple adjectives before the noun or after the noun. Final one. Here we go. What's this one? What's missing? Yes, correct. Well done. That was pretty easy because we had the process of logical deduction there. So we got nouns, water noun, oxygen noun, hydrogen noun, combine with a noun to create a noun. That water noun, when the noun shines on them, the noun would not cover most of the noun. Now, a little thing to keep in mind, two things to keep in mind when you're dealing with nouns. One is that they're either going to be singular noun or plural nouns. For example, every water noun, the hydrogen nouns are extracted. So it's either going to be no S, singular, or S, plural, right? Seems to be a huge problem in English. So here we got molecule, singular, atoms, plural. So we've got an oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms. Singular, an atom, one. Hydrogen atoms, more than one. So that's also something that can help you in fill in the blanks. But that's something you should absolutely get right for your speaking and writing. Now, the other thing to keep in mind when we're dealing with nouns are articles. Words like a, an, and the. They are articles and they precede, they come before the noun. So an atom, the atoms, a source, the oceans, the planet. right? So that's another hint that you can use to help you to identify if it's a noun that's missing. You can see the article, but the article has no noun, or there's a gap there. You know that it must be a noun, okay? So nouns are things. Nouns can be singular or plural, and articles precede nouns. Fine. Now we've done the theory, let's do practice. So I want you to first of all identify the word type that is missing. This time it won't just be one, it'll be different ones that are missing, okay? Let me disappear. Please type into the chat what word type is missing for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They will be different, not just one. Cool. Let's have a look. All right. Comprised, highly, well, here's the noun here. So, what's that? When sunlight, something on them, and would not, something most of the planet. Okay. So we've gone the first step. The first step in reading fill in the blanks is to identify whether you're missing a preposition or an adjective or a verb, for example. So we've done that. That's the first step. Let's do the second step and identify the collocation now. So I'm going to help you out. We know that we're missing a preposition here. And if you look down here, you can see, maybe you can see the prepositions. And here we're missing an adjective. And if you look down here, maybe you can see the adjectives. So now go through and complete this reading, fill in the blanks. "20 seconds. Cool. Good stuff. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Let's have a look at the answers here. So we know we're missing a preposition. We look down here and we increase our chances because that's not a preposition. That's not a preposition. Neither are these two. So we've got two possible prepositions and we find it to be comprised of flammable gas or highly flammable. There's your collocation. Highly flammable or flammable gas. Plentiful source. There's your collocation. Sunlight shines. There's your collocation. Cover the planet. Oceans would not cover most of the planet. There's your correct word type. There's your collocation. If you do that, you will increase your chances of doing this successfully. The answers are of, flammable, plentiful, shines, and cover. Fine, that was easy because you saw that. Let's do another one with a new paragraph, but let's follow the same method. First of all, I want you to identify the word type. Cool. Let's have a look at the answers. Right. Let me walk you through this. So, sleep is necessary for repairing proteins, something memories, and removing. So it's going to be an ing word. It's going to be an interesting one though. But we know that here we've got repairing proteins, something memories, and removing waste. Ing in here. Fine. But really, sleep is still a. Here's your noun. Here we have an article and we have a noun. What goes between there? What describes the noun? Number 3, it's cells in tune with circadian. There's your adjectives. Sorry, your adjective, singular. What does an adjective describe that's missing here? Most of the molecular components of that. There's your noun. What's missing here? On the other hand, how much we sleep is, well, here's part of the verb, and there's looks like something's missing here that's connected to that. However, little is known about its molecular. That's an adjective, so we're missing something here. Don't worry about number 1. I'll come back to number 1 because it's a tricky one. Adjective mystery. Adjective mystery. Circadian noun. Adjective clock. Is verb. And molecular noun. Fine. Number 1's a tricky one. It could, if you wrote noun, that's fine because it's one of those weird words that functions either as a verb or a noun. But in this context, it's more verb-like. Cool. Let's go to the next step now. I want you to identify the collocation using, and I want you to eliminate possibilities because we know that this one's a verb. We know that it's an ing ending. So there you go. Maybe that's too easy. This one we know is an adjective, so eliminate ones that are not adjectives, for example. Good, Manny Chris. That's looking good. Well done. 20 seconds. How are you going on YouTube, by the way? Looking good, looking good. Cool, all right. Excellent. Let's have a look. Cool. This actually works. Oh my God. There is a way to crack the PTE, and it's not just guesswork. You know, I guess one thing you want to get, the point you want to reach with your language is that you just understand it all, and you understand. It's not, language is chaotic and messy and crazy, and sometimes you think it's impossible to understand, but there is underneath all that craziness, there is a logic. There's a logic there. Cool. So we know that this one was a verb, and we knew it was an ing verb. So we looked down here and we thought, well, there's only one, must be consolidating. Bang, you got that correct. This one we knew was an adjective because we knew this was a noun and we knew this was an article, and therefore this must be an adjective. So we looked down here and we saw, one adjective here, and we saw another adjective here, and this possibly is an adjective. So we've increased our chances by 50%, and then we've chosen great. So it's a great mystery. Why? Because that's the collocation, and consolidating memories is a collocation. And here we knew this was a noun, and the collocation is circadian rhythms. And internal clock, we knew this was a noun. Clock is a noun, therefore this must be an adjective. Because it can't be an article, you can't say that the clock, must be an adjective. And we've used the adjective here, therefore it must be internal. And here we have a little verb, part of the verb, the auxiliary verb. We sleep is regulated. So that's the collocation because we regulate sleep. And here, well, this is a noun and this is the adjective, find molecular basis. Just type into the chat yes if you got 100%. Just type in yes. Nice. That's looking good. Well done. Yeah. Good. Someone just asked if there's negative marking, and no, there is no negative marking. So you can guess, but hopefully you don't have to guess. Cool. Let's do a third practice. This one will be even harder. This time, no preceding help. You just have to use it, the words, just like the real test. But first of all, identify what type of word, then identify the adjective. The collocation. Cool. All right. Let's have a look at the answers. This was pretty tricky, actually. Fine. First step, let's look at the type of word. So we know that this one's going to be a verb, right? And if we look down here, we have evaporating, meets, sees, and beaming. So 4 of the 7 are verbs, but we've increased our chances of selecting the right one. And here we know that number 2 and number 4 are going to be prepositions. And we have 1, 2, 3 prepositions. So we've increased our chances of selecting the right one enormously by identifying the word type. Then if we look at the answers, meets the eye is the collocation. Compressed together is the collocation. Now this one was not so much a collocation, but meaning, because the material evaporates off the comets as they approach the sun. If you had material beaming off comets, doesn't really make sense from a meaning perspective. So you do still have to read for meaning. Then we had number 4 is particles give off enough material to produce visible meteors or shooting stars. So give off here is the phrasal verb, the verb plus preposition, which makes sense. A lot of people had give away, but that's the wrong one. That doesn't make sense in this context. So give off is the collocation here that is correct. So if you had all of those, that was a hard one. That's the kind of level of difficulty that you will see in the PTE. Cool, let's just quickly recap before we go to Q&A. So 2 keys to this task, and they're big keys because they also impact other aspects of language. You need to learn natural sounding phrases, collocations. And how do you learn them? Well, you need to start reading. And when you're reading, look at the combination, the word combinations. Look at the adjective nouns. Look at the verb nouns. Look at the adverb adjectives. Look at the types of words that appear together in combinations and start to write them down and to memorize them. And also when you're speaking and when you're listening, listen to what people say. For example, we were talking about someone before who had failed the PTE and they had failed miserably. Failed miserably. So there's an interesting verb-adverb combination. But you want to pass with flying colors. That's the opposite of failing miserably. You also need to learn how to identify word types. Nouns, you need to be able to look at a text and go, that's a noun, 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 noun. You need to be able to look at a text and go verb, 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 adjective, adverb, and preposition. You need to be able to identify the word types. Not just because it will help you in fill in the blanks, but by being able to identify word types, it will greatly improve your grammar, because then when you're writing a sentence, for example, you know that that's not right because that has to be an adjective, not an adverb, for example. Cool. Right. For all of you free E2 users, you guys should definitely think about upgrading your account to a paid one, because there are heaps of benefits, like a study plan consultation where we set you on the path to success. We've got all the grammar, vocab, and pronunciation you need. We have methods like this one for each of the PTE tasks. Lots of practice materials. We give you feedback on your writing and speaking, either written feedback or one-on-one feedback. And we do live mock tests 5 days of the week. And that's what you should do to succeed. Cool. Let's go to Q&A. Let me stop my recording.